2 Timothy 4. I charge thee therefore before God and the Lord Jesus Christ, who shall judge the quick and the dead at his appearing and his kingdom. Preach the word. Be instant in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all longsuffering and doctrine. For the time will come, when they will not endure sounder doctrine, but after their own lusts shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables.
That's all I can think of. So today's class, we're going to take a look at the lunar Sabbath versus the continuous cycle of the Sabbath circuit, I should say. And this class will be uploaded to the YouTube channel. So to my YouTube family, let me give my disclaimer as I always do. The Torah group do not attack man, woman, or church, because our elders tell us we wrestle not with flesh and blood. But we will expose false doctrine, whether it be based on Christianity or whether it be based on Hebrew Israelite teachings as well. So if you esteem the words of your pastor, your bishop, your first lady, your moray, if you esteem the words of a man over the words of the Most High that he gave to his prophets, then this class may be offensive to you and you may want to exit the room or go to another channel. We don't attack anybody, but we present the information as best as we can, and we let you decide what you want to do with it. We do not indoctrinate. We just share information, and you go before the Most High, and you see what the Most High lays on your heart, because that's one of the blessings that the Messiah did for us. When he shed his blood for us, he gave us direct access to the Father. We go to the Father in the name of Yeshua, and he told the disciples, if you ask the Father anything in my name, he's going to do it. So now that he spilled his blood, the Levitical priesthood is done. We don't have to go to the priest and say, hey, I did this sacrifice. No, we got direct access. So you don't have to take no man's word for anything. You get before your Father and you ask him to guide you to all truths. So with that being said, I don't want anyone to think that this is a so-called chop session. We don't get involved in these moray wars going on. We share the truth to the best of our understanding, and if more truth or more revelation comes, we take a look at it. Because like I told y'all when we first got together, the Torah group, we are an organic assembly, and what that means is as we learn more stuff about our culture and what our Father wants, we do our best to implement it. Okay? So when I say we debunk or expose false doctrine, Brother Obadiah, this is my philosophy, y'all. This is not Torah. So my take on this is this issue about the lunar Sabbath versus the continual cycle. To me, this is not a false doctrine topic. To me, this is more of everyone being exposed to different research and getting a different interpretation. To me, my definition, when I say we expose false doctrine to me is a belief or teachings that's designed to deceive. So you will hear us talk about Christianity, and we're not trying to attack our brothers inside the church. We're showing the contrast. We now know, thanks to the Most High, we know that that organization or that religion of Christianity was set up to deceive us, specifically the children of Israel, so we wouldn't keep our law, statutes, commandments, and that'll keep us from our Father. So this topic here, I wouldn't call this false doctrine. So to those brothers out there and sisters who follow that continuous cycle, I don't believe you're a false teacher. I don't believe you're under false doctrine. I just believe it's a thing of being exposed to different information. So I want to put that out there because there's moray wars going on and brothers going publicly trying to expose different teachers, and we don't get involved with none of that. So let's get into this because there's a lot to go over, and I want to get through everything and still have time for you to have Q&A because next week is our feast day. And then after that is the last day of the feast. And then I guess our first gathering in December, we'll go over the months to show you how According to all our elders and all the research that I could find, there's no justification for 13 months. There's no justification. So today, I want to dedicate the day just for the Sabbath. Just for the Sabbath. And also, before we begin, whether you keep every Saturday or you try to follow the lunar Sabbath, I don't believe in captivity the Most High is going to hold this against us. We have these things that the priests had, sins of ignorance. We're in captivity doing the best we can with what we got. So if you can't honor the lunar Sabbath, or you don't think if there's a lunar Sabbath, that's what the blood is for. This ain't an opportunity or occasion to attack our family. Shema.
Shema.
All right, so let's get into this. I think Rasheen handed out the handouts. Those online, I did try to email, like I said, but I emailed it over the hotspot. So I don't know if you were able to even receive it. I apologize.
I have it.
You have it, elders? All praises.
Yep.
All praises. All praises. So you'll see the title is the lunar Sabbath versus the continuous cycle. So before we even get into this topic, let's go to Jubilees 1 and 13. Jubilees 1 and 13. I got it here, and I'll get it on the screen for you. Just be mindful of those markers because we're going to need those markers.
Okay.
So I give me a second, I get on the screen too. If you have a copy at home, we're going to Jubilees chapter 1. Now, you may still have to navigate this mouse for me.
Okay.
So, Elder, if you could, let me know when you can see the screen, please.
I can see it.
All praises, hallelujah. So, we're going to read Jubilees chapter 1, verse 13. Shema, when you're ready.
Shema. Shema.
Shema.
Read.
They will make themselves high places and places of worship and graven images. Each will worship graven images of his own making. Thus they will go astray. They will sacrifice their children to demons, and to all errors their hearts can work. I will send witnesses to them that I may testify against them, but they will hear not. They will kill the witnesses. They will persecute those who seek the law.
That's the prophets.
And they will abolish and change everything in the law so as to work evil before my eyes. I will hide my face from them. I will deliver them into the hand of the Gentiles. They will be captured like prey for their eating. I will remove them out of the land. I will scatter them among the Gentiles.
This is why we came, family. Verse 13, or it may be off on the website.
Okay. And they will forget my law and all my commandments and all my judgments. They will go astray regarding the observance of new moons and Sabbaths and festivals and jubilees and laws.
So it was already told to our ancestors that as soon as we forget and stop keeping the laws, that all the moon, the stars, all our Sabbaths is going to be off killed. It was already prophesied. So, and y'all know the story. We didn't. We went into captivity. So there's really no need to be making insults and attacking people because, you know, we grew up in the inner city and, you know, y'all, it's that no snitching law. Don't snitch, don't snitch. Well, the Most High called the earth to bear witness against us. So when the earth yields her fruit untimely, late or early, the earth is telling on Israel. So that's why there's no need for all the bickering. We're doing the best we can picking up the pieces. Amen?
Amen.
So it's another piece of history, and I apologize, I had a lot on my mind. This document here is the, hopefully you can see it on your screen. This is a document, it's free online, and this is called, am I on the right one? This is the history of Palestine. This is the history of Palestine, and I love this document because this starts, you can see it on to the right, this covered the years of 634 to the year 1099, and our big brother, the Ishmaelites, the Arabs, are ruling the world pretty much, and they come into Israel. So that's why Ishmael will be destroyed, because he broke the covenant. So let me control F. I'm on page 496 or page 13. I want to show you that this argument back and forth about when does a day start and all, it's nothing new, family. Unfortunately, it's nothing new. It's the way of Israel, because you know, right when the Messiah was with us, the disciples was arguing about who was going to be the greatest, and then they had arguments of who baptized who, and ranks and rank and file type of disagreement. So this thing about people going back and forth is not new. It's very old. This is just a clip of it, but you can get the context of what Ox about to read. Read for us, Ox.
Sabbath and keep Wednesday instead. It is difficult to see any connection between that controversy and that barely unknown sect which consecrates Wednesday instead of the Sabbath.
They consecrate when?
Wednesday.
Instead of the Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going back to the 9th century, I believe. If you get the PDF, there's a free PDF, has this entire book on there. And you see already in the 9th century, they're having Moray wars. This yeshiva is the Latin word. We call it a yeshab. A yeshab is a school, and the word yeshab means to sit. So sitting, learning, and reading is yeshab. You hear the Hebrews or the Khazars say yeshiva. So we had yeshabs or yeshivas popping up in Jerusalem and Babylon, and they were having disagreements. These rabbis, Morays, and some were saying, "Well, we keep it on Wednesday," and this person's perspective is, we don't know why they're choosing to keep it on Wednesday versus the Sabbath. Now he's from Babylon, I believe, so he's referring to Saturday as the Sabbath. But the point we need to ask ourselves, and again, I ask questions not to be sarcastic and not to be, intimidating. I ask questions because hard questions stimulate the mind. If you're in the IT field, every time you query your computer, your computer's starting to go answer that query. So if I told you you had steak last night for dinner, it may take you a little delay, like, no, I didn't. But if I asked you, what did you have for dinner last night, your mind's starting to query. So that's why I put things in a Q&A, to one, to keep you engaged, and two, to stimulate your mind to start thinking. So don't think I'm being facetious when I put things in a Q&A format. So this brother, I'm sorry, the signal stopped. Let me resume the share. So you see here, it was an issue. Some Israelites were keeping Sabbath on Wednesday, and some was saying, well, it's Saturday. So the question I would ask, why would any Israelite think the Sabbath was on Wednesday? And you're going to see, because they were doing the lunar Sabbath, versus those in Babylon who started just using the continuous weekly Sabbath. So to be sure we all on the same page and have an understanding of what the continuous cycle is, on your handout, I have a little calendar. And I'm going to paraphrase in general. What the continuous weekly cycle is. So this is not, everyone, you can't put everyone in the same basket. But for the brothers who teach it, this is a generalization of their understanding or their practice. They're saying they don't break the 6 working day cycle for anything. Not the new moon or nothing. So they would say, right here on Sunday, you see I got the new moon. they count the new moon as part of their 6 working days. So they say the new moon comes in, it's the first of the month, and we can have that as a working day. So then you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We had our 6 working days, and then the 7th is the Sabbath. So another one of their understandings, and this is not for everybody, that even though it's accepted that the planetary weeks are Babylonish, they understand that. That's not the argument. But their understanding, for the most part, is they just put those Babylonian days on top of our regular days. So it's okay. Saturday is actually the 7th day of the Hebrew calendar. So they say you count the new moon and you can start your working days. You work for 6 days. The 7th day is Shabbat. So with this method, your Shabbat's always going to fall 7, 14, 21, 28. So the question or the problem they have is if most months are 30 days. We're going to see that. Most of our months are 30 days. So they say, let's go down to the 28th, right? So the 28th on the continuous cycle will be the 4th Shabbat of this month, whatever month it is, right? So let's say the month is 30 days, like most months are. They say, okay, the 29th starts a new week, so that's workday 1. They say the 30th is workday 2. And then they say the next day, even though a new moon comes, that's still workday 3. They don't break the cycle for the 6 work days. That's very paramount that you get that, because you won't understand the rest of this class. Everybody understand what they say? We don't break the 6 days. So with this understanding, if the 28th is your 4th Shabbat, and this month has 30 days, the 29th is workday 1, the 30th is workday 2, and then the new moon is workday 3. So let's continue this out. New moon comes on that 3rd day. So that's the first of the month. That's your 3rd work day. Just using this calendar here. So the new moon comes on, it would be Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
So the new moon comes on Tuesday. We're still counting our work days. So that's 3. Wednesday is the 2nd. Thursday is the 4th. Friday is the 5th. And then Saturday would be the 6th. So already you're saying that the Sabbath don't move. It has to land on a Saturday. That's only 6 days. So if we keep going, their 7th day, their Sabbath for that month won't fall until when? Sunday? Right on your paper so you can see the illustration.
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
Their new moon will start on the 5th.
So their new moon will come on Tuesday the 1st.
Oh, I'm sorry, not the new moon, but their Shabbat. Hold on.
Give everybody a chance to do it. Continue this calendar to the next month. So we got the 29th, the 30th is Monday. The Tuesday is the 1st. Wednesday is the 2nd. Thursday, so forth and so on. So when would the 7th day of the next month fall?
Monday.
So their Sabbath for that month will be on a Monday. Already we're having a problem with their understanding or what the majority of them present. They present that every Saturday is a Sabbath. But if you don't break for the new moon, y'all just bear witness that your 7th day is going to be on Monday. Already we got a problem. Now, remember I gave y'all that quick weave analogy, how all our culture is tied together? This lunar Shabbat versus the continuous weekly is tied to the resurrection and Passover. So again, with a continuous cycle, you're using the new moon as part of your work days. All your Sabbaths will fall on the 7th, the 14th, the 21st, and the 28th. So if your Sabbath falls on the 7th, 14th, when was Passover? When was Passover?
On
Passover for us is the 14th.
14th, yeah.
We got a problem, family, because you're saying your schedule is 7, 14, 21, 28. Well, we know, according to the Most High, the 14th of every first month is Passover. So now when we go back and revisit Matthew and Mark, Matthew 26 and Mark 14, they said after they crucified the Messiah and the Sabbath drew on, and the Sabbath drew on. So if the Sabbath drew on, and you're saying we had Passover on the 14th, And according to your schedule, the 14th is supposed to be a Sabbath. Everyone's tracking the point I'm making.
Yes.
You're telling us the 14th is a Sabbath. That means Passover is going to fall on a Sabbath. That means when we go back and revisit Matthew and Mark, and they say Christ or Yeshua was crucified and the Sabbath drew on, we got a problem. We got a problem. Because the 14th can't be the Sabbath, and they're saying the Sabbath drew on. You see how everything's connected? Mm-hmm. Now, let's do this 3 count again. Let's assume that we all follow this continuous Sabbath. The 14th of Abib is a Sabbath, and we know for us it's Passover. According to the understanding that we all brought up with, we crucified Christ on Passover, right? So let's put him on the cross on the 14th. The 14th is Passover of Abib. He's on the cross. We crucified him. When did he rise? When did he rise?
On the 3rd day.
And what did the scripture call that 3rd day? The beginning of the week.
Beginning of the week, yeah.
Our scrolls say he rose the beginning of the week. So if you're telling me he died on the 14th, and the 14th for you is going to be Saturday, the beginning of your week is when?
Tuesday?
No.
Oh, no.
No.
15, 16.
Take away the 3 days. Don't count the 3 days. They're saying our Sabbath, their Sabbath.
Oh.
The 18th?
Sunday starts their week. Sunday starts their week. So if you put Yeshua on the cross on the 14th, and you're telling me that's a Sabbath, because you don't break for the new moon, so you're telling me Yeshua was on the cross on the 14th, because that's Passover according to their understanding, and that's a Sabbath. So if he rose the beginning of the week, as the scrolls say, with y'all count, he rose on the 15th would be Sunday. He's fraudulent. He hasn't been in the grave 3 days and 3 nights. You see how we have a problem with this continuous cycle?
So
Everyone sees the problem?
Well, I had a question. So are we still rolling over into a new month, or are you just going back to the regular calendar?
Let's just pretend this continuous cycle is Abib. Let's
Okay,
pretend this is
I got
Abib 30 or 30, whatever they said it was. 30. Let's pretend this is Abib. We know according to our records, according to our father, Abib 14, regardless of month, you can call the days orange, red, black, or whatever. The Most High, we don't have names. According to our instructions, the 14th of Abib, we're supposed to be celebrating Passover. So with this continuous cycle, this is Abib, and this is a continuous cycle. 14th come, we're celebrating Passover. According to them, this is the end of the week. Because they're saying, according to the continuous cycle, Passover Sabbath is always going to be 7/14, 21, 28, and it's always going to be a Saturday. Their understanding is, even though those days are Babylonish, they still line up with the Hebrew customs. So if that's the case, the 14th of Abib is a Sabbath and it's Passover, it's the weekend, and he rose Sunday morning, the 15th. He only been in the grave a half a night.
Yeah.
We have a problem with the continuous cycle. Everyone sees that?
Yes.
Okay, everyone online see that? Can everyone online see that? So now that you we're saying that we understand a lunar Sabbath. So with our custom, what we would do, I don't want to confuse you with this one. Just real quick, go to page. Mine's not numbered. Y'all see tracking the lunar Sabbath?
Page 5.
Page 5. If you have the online handout, go to page 5, and it's the title is Tracking the Lunar Sabbath, and you see a calendar there. Now with the lunar Sabbath, we break for the new moon. Everybody's with me?
Yes.
The lunar Sabbath, we interrupt the 6 working days for that new moon. So what this is saying is, y'all see those W's? Those are 6 working days. So the new moon is off by itself. So we establish that crescent, and then we go to the second, and we work for 6 days. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. The 6 working days is going to actually be the 7th, and then the 8th day of that month is the seventh day of our work week. So our Sabbaths are going to fall 8, 15, 22, 29. And then most of our days are 29 or 30 days. So if the new moon is confirmed on the 30th, we have a new moon day and we start our cycle over, our work cycle. We break our 6 days by the new moon. That's why our Sabbaths fall on 8, 15, 22, and 29. Now, with this right here, let's put the Messiah on the cross again. Let's put him on the cross on the 14th. We put the Messiah on the cross on the 14th. Let's pretend this is Abib. We're gonna pretend this is Abib, and the understanding most of us had before we had the class is we crucified the king on the 14th. So this is Abib 14. The night of the 14th, he's in the grave, so we count that. The Sabbath, the 15th. Well, again, if you're saying the 14th is your weekend, the 15th is the beginning of the week for the continuous cycle. So with the lunar understanding, put him on the cross on the 14th. We give him that first night, the 14th, he's crucified, that's night 1. The 15th comes, is night 2. The 16th comes, is night 3. So that is 3 nights. But we're missing what? We're missing a day. Because we can't count the 14th as a day because he didn't give up the ghost until what? Was 3 p.m.?
Yeah.
So we can't count the 14th as a day. So the first day we can count him being in the grave is the day of the 15th. So the day of the 15th is his first day in the grave. And then if the 16th is the beginning of the week with the lunar Sabbath, we're still short. Even with us tracking the lunar Sabbath, if we put the king on the cross on the 14th, we don't get 3 days and 3 nights. Now, if we back him up to the 13th, like we said, we get the night of the 13th is his first night. The night of the 14th is his second night. The night of the 15th is the third night. The 16th, he don't spend none of that night because he already had his 3 nights. So the 14th will be his first day. The 15th will be his second day. And then the 16th, they say, as it was dawning, as it was daybreak. Mark gave you more details as the day was dawning. So that's what I'm saying. I can't say for sure how much of the day they're counting to say 3 days and 3 nights. But if you put him on the cross on the 14th, with the lunar or the continuous cycle, you don't get 3 days and 3 nights. You don't get 3 days and 3. And I know it's a lot to hear the first time. I don't want you to think I got this right away. It took me months and months and months, which turned into 2 years, to finally get at peace with this. Again, if you put Messiah on the cross on the 14th, whether you use the continuous cycle or you use the lunar cycle, you're going to be short the 3 days and 3 nights. Calm? So now let's go back to the first page. And again, we're going to examine the continuous cycle first. We're going to examine the continuous cycle first. So this is an excerpt, and I forgot to put the website here. I can go back and try to find it. And this is entitled, can you read for us the sacred day of Saturn?
The sacred day of Saturn. Albius Tibulus is another Latin poet who is often quoted to show that the pagan week of days dedicated to the planetary gods was in use among the Romans in the 1st century BC. He lived between 54 and 19 BC and was a Latin elegiac poet, a contemporary of Horace. In one of his poems, he explains why he delayed leaving his beloved Delia, saying, "Either I blame the birds or words of bad omen, or that the sacred day of Saturn had held me back." The day of Saturn in pagan astrological week was invariably regarded as an unlucky day, dies nefastus, for undertaking matters of importance. This was merely a superstitious notion and was not based on any regard for Saturday as sacred Sabbath of the Holy Scriptures.
What he's saying is Saturday has nothing to do with the Sabbath. Saturday, I grew up with a Jehovah's Witness family in the neighborhood, and they went to church on Saturday. So I began to relate Saturday with the Sabbath. That's what they told us. We go to church on Sabbath, and it was Saturday. So growing up, I always equated Saturday to Sabbath, and a lot of people had to understand it. The word Saturn has nothing to do with seven or Sabbath. The word Saturn, if you look it up in the studylight.org, you look up the word hide. The word hide for us is Sathar. So Saturn is a corruption of Sathar. When Zepho ran to Italy, he says, Yah has hidden me. So Italy's first name was really Saturnalia, hidden by Yah. Esau's grandson says, Yah has hidden me from the Israelites because he ran from us. So Saturn has nothing to do with seven or the Sabbath, and we're going to give you another example. And you can see the diagram under it. This is the Babylonian lunar month. So when you say your Sabbath are 7, 14, 21, and 28, you're following the customs of Babylon. That's how Babylon set their months up, not how the Israelites set the months up. And we're going to run it down.